Hello, I'm Adam, hailing from partsFUNknown, and welcome to part 1 of this month's No Rolls Barred one-shot, this time set in the world of Victorian horror. As usual, No Rolls Barred is based on Worldwide Wrestling, a system designed by Nathan D. Powletta. Check the link below for more information. Without further ado, let me transport you into the world of cruel Britannia.
Hello and welcome back to CBW, where the big boys are big boos. I'm Tom, dread of creative here at CBW, and these are our players.
Hello, I am Luke Owen, and I am playing Robert Scrood, the veteran class.
Hello, my name's Lolo, and I'll be playing Demonique, and I am the addict.
Hi, I'm Laurie. I'm playing the Raven, and I'm the Iconoclast.
Hey up, I'm Invisible Man Helsing, and I'm also the Iconoclast.
Hi, I'm Ollie Davis, and I'm playing a babyface high flyer, Richard Thunder.
Right, let's do a fight. Beneath the choking smoke and smog of industry, behind the heavy doors of daily drudgery, toil the weary workers of a city whose heart is as black and bleak as the coal that feeds its Faustian furnaces. Out on the streets, amidst the cacophonous clamour of crowded cobblestones, the call of capitalism keeps cash flowing from purse to person to purse in a perpetual pirouette of need and greed. Safely sequestered from the stain and stink of hard graft and hustle, barons of business reap the benefits of a booming metropolis built on the backs of the beggared and beleaguered. But be they penniless pauper or prosperous plutocrat, all mortal men hunger for something beyond what they can harvest from the humdrum world they inhabit. A primal battleground where social status shrinks beneath the strength of one's beliefs and class crumbles under the power of one's desires. In the borough of Grapplington, under the auspices of muscle magnate Quincy Cavendish, Her Majesty's mightiest meet in the ring as the municipal masses applaud in awe. Recent months, however, have seen a sudden shift to more supernatural struggles, as Albion's gravest ghouls grapple and gore each other in a spooky and salacious spectacle of penny dreadful proportions, right here at CBW. Welcome to Cruel Britannia Wrestling.
CBW.
Come on now, please.
Welcome, everyone, to Cruel Britannia Wrestling, and welcome to another night of Monsters Brawl. Prepare yourselves as these grim and proper pugilists clash inside and outside the ropes in the name of blood, beasts, and brutality. The arena we find ourselves in here at Cruel Britannia Wrestling is a deep fighting pit, sand and chalk scattered over a concrete foundation surrounded by heavy wooden walls. Above these wooden walls sit the lower classes, ringside seats, watching the scraps and scuffles that occur below. Above these, the upwardly mobile middle classes sit in more comfortable chairs to purvey the goings-on, and right at the top, in private boxes and sealed viewing balconies, the upper class of Victorian London gaze down as other men get their hands dirty for their entertainment. You see small, grimy urchins scamper from level to level, from punter to punter, handing out copies of a periodical entitled The Wrestling Onlooker. Today's headline, Weird Monsters Ruin Wrestling. And as people settle as best they can, flick through the paper to see what the latest headlines, gossip, and opinions on the wrestling scene are, the voice of the announcer calls out from a platform above the pit itself. Making their way to the ring, hailing from Scarborough, the hidden hunter, Invisible Man Helsing.
A single streetlight is in the pit, and it illuminates fog as it rolls in, creating a blanket of opaque smog. People cough in the crowds, and then through the fog, almost made of the fog, cartwheels a naked man, and he just runs around the pit doing like jumping jacks and going, "Oh, I'm invisible! Oh, I'm invisible! You can't see me!" And then he takes some bandages out and then kind of wraps them around his head, puts some sunglasses, a hat, and a coat on, and then you can see him.
Making his way to the ring, hailing from the heart of Transylvania, Count Grapula. There is a flutter and screech of bats as a swarm of flying winged mammals speeds down the ramp, swirl in whirling circles above the pit, and then settle, forming the shape of a large, broad-shouldered, pale, handsome man with an aquiline nose and a widow's peak above his head. Swings his arms out to show the red velvet lining of a beautiful and black cape, and then swishes that cape over his nose and glares at the audience with piercing, evil eyes.
Can I punch him in the back of the head?
The bell has not gone off yet.
Does it matter? I'm a hunter.
Okay, I'm going to say yes. You can make a work roll. You can make a work roll to do this, but yeah, okay, just make a work roll.
All right, it's -1. That seems fair. Oh, bloody hell, it's 9.
9. Okay.
Fucking twat him.
Your human fist swings around the back, and as the fist of a mortal man hits the back of the skull of a superhumanly strong ancient being of evil, he stumbles a little, some of his sinister grace knocked off balance.
Come on, bastard.
Turns around to look at you. Oh, so you think you can put me down for the count? Well, I'm afraid I've got some bat news.
Kick him in the dick.
Too late. At that point, he woofs into a cloud of bats again, starts swarming around you. You feel these sort of bat wings flapping against your face, like little claws scratching your arms and legs. What are you doing?
Fucking hell. I'm going to try and grab the bats and squeeze them till they pop.
Okay, make a... to try and grab bats out of the air, I'm going to say make a work roll again.
All right, that's -1. That is 6.
6. You manage to maybe get a grip of a couple of bats, but they are too slippery and leathery. They slide out of your hand, and you just find yourself more and more engulfed in these things as they bite through your clothes, bite through your bandages, like little bits of blood start to seep out and mark where your skin is from the inside of your coverings. The swarm of bats moves away from you after giving you a sound biting and settles down, solidifies back into the figure of the Count. He puts one long talon finger to his lips and says, "Did I do that?"
Right. Well, I'm not having much luck in my visible form, so I'm going to have to pull out me finishing move called "You Can't See Me." I'm going to have to go invisible. I take off all my bandages and my coat and my scarf and my gloves and my hat, and there I am, naked as the day I was born, which in prudish Victorian society renders me invisible because they daren't look.
So as soon as your pasty form is revealed to the audience here at CBW, a certain section of the audience, the more prudish types, especially in the upper levels, avert their eyes and turn away, not wishing to see this jiggly spectacle of manhood.
I can make it go clockwise and counterclockwise.
You are able to take your clothes off without needing to roll. The Count just stares at you incredulously, wondering what you're doing.
Now that I'm invisible, I'm going to go for my signature move, which is bad optics. I'm going to kick him in the dick.
Okay, this is just a signature move. It's a dick kick. I'm going to say that's probably real. That feels like
+1 for real.
Feels like a dirty move.
In the spuds. Fucking hell. That's all right. That's 4.
4. Your mortal leg kicks out, collides with a clang with the rock hard spuds of a superhumanly resilient being. Dracula then looks down at you, smiles like a long, like nasty looking smile, says, Don't make promises you can't keep. Bares his fangs and then latches down your throat. And we're going to cut now quickly up to one of the upper levels of Cruel Britannia Wrestling, in a private box, sitting in his usual seat, where CBW's most acerbic critic is penning very displeased words onto his notepad. Luke, can you tell us who we see sitting up here?
You see the man of Robert Scrood, who was once part of CBW, but now has decided to critique its work instead. And he looks down at his notes for Man Helsing versus Grapula that he will type up through Quill later on for the Wrestling Onlooker. He looks at silly gimmicks. The kids can't work. Swearing, how childish. This is terrible. But, oh, do come on. This isn't getting over with the crowd. How are we supposed to see what he's doing? And he just shakes his head. How very droll.
You hear a familiar voice on your left-hand side. I don't know what match you're watching, mate, but the crowd seems to love this.
Oh, dear boy, you're not hearing properly. This is not an entertained crowd. This is not an entertained crowd at all.
I think out of the two of us, mate, the one who isn't listening properly is you. For starters, don't you recognise the sound of your old friend? And you look to see the rough and ready, cheerful demeanour of Jacob Markley, your old tag team partner.
Jacob Markley? But it can't be. What on earth is happening?
Well, it's not that tough to decipher, mate. I'm haunting you, aren't I?
There must be something bad. There must be something in these peanuts that they've been serving us. Everyone's gone downhill since the new management. No, there's more of nut than there is of ghost about you.
I can reassure you, mate, I'm a little bit more than just a piece of bad cheese. And something definitely stinks here in the state of Denmark, or, well, London, I guess. You know what stinks, Rob? Robbie. Come so far in the world. You know what stinks? You do.
Imagining things. How could I be haunted by that old tag partner? No, there's something very much afish. You're right, there is something rotten. It's clearly all in my head. I'm just going to go back to watching this silly little match now, and you can get out of my brain, or whatever it is you are, apparition.
By all means, watch, Robbie boy. By all means, take a good, hard look. And as you look down in the ring, you see that despite the fact you've been speaking for about a minute now to this bit of undigested nut, as you think he is, Dracula is still Grapula. Whew. Grapula is still poised, fangs bared just above the neck of this invisible idiot, but hasn't moved a muscle.
That's editorializing, and I won't stand for it.
You're frozen in time, mate. Pipe down. And yeah, no one is moving. And as you look closer at these two figures, the figure of the Invisible Man Helsing seems to change slightly, and you're no longer looking at a naked nincompoop. Instead, you recognize a young man in the prime of his wrestling career, on the mat against their arch rival, the company's champion, Pinheart Stone Gold, a huge, meaty tank of a Scottish woman in a big golden tartan kilt, looming over this figure that you know to be yourself. These large, meaty mitts ready to lock up. You look around and the audience are no longer the audience of today. They're the audience of 30 years ago. You know this match. You remember this match.
I remember this match very well. 'Twas the night that I won the championship. How could this possibly be? I must be exhausted, making so many notes. This can't be happening.
All those years ago, what did you do as Pinheart Stone Gold lunged for you to lock up with these massive paws?
Ducked underneath to then lock in one of my signature moves. the bar bum hug, which is a bear hug. You trap them and you sort of like lock them into a sort of a submission type thing. I would say it's very work related.
I would say, yeah, trying to slip under the legs feels worky. So we'll get a work to slip under the legs. But if you want to bear hug a woman of that muscular capacity, that's going to be a power roll subsequent to that.
Aha! 8.
So 8 on your work?
Yes. Sorry.
So yeah, you slide under as like a Scooby-Doo villain, Pinheart, arms with across the top of you and grab air. And then a power roll for that bear hug.
3.
Okay, you can re-roll if you want to, or we can keep that.
Yes, I will do. Yes, I am going to re-roll because I am preserving honor and tradition of wrestling using wrestling holds the way that they're meant to be done.
Ooh,
Right,
that's...
Milkman.
Okay, fine. That's not your best work.
Thank you. That is 7.
7. That'll do it. Yeah, despite the fact you're a smaller man, you managed to get your arms around the torso of Pinheart Stone Gold. And she wheezes out in pain as these very, very lean, wiry muscles squeeze her right in her abdomen. Sort of big arms are sort of thrashing around, trying to grab you, trying to pry your hands off, stomping around these big, heavy feet, wearing these sort of gold patent tartan boots. What are you doing, Robert?
The aim is to get head down to the mats to lock in my finishing submission, the 12 days of Ouchmas, which is an Indian deathlock.
Go for it.
So just straight 2d6.
If this is your finisher, the straight 2d6.
That'll be a 7 again.
You just managed to do it. Take us through your finisher in this momentous occasion.
So I said it's an Indian deathlock, but actually I've changed my mind. It's actually a figure 4. So I loop the leg round, cross it into the 4, and I fall onto my back, sitting up on my arms so as not to get pinned as a good wrestler would, as my opponent writhes around in pain in this almost impossible to get out of hold. It's so expertly put in.
Okay, yes, she rides and stomps and bellows like a set of bagpipes, but finally, boom, 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 this huge fist pounds against the sand and concrete, and the crowd lose their minds for the urchin underdog, Robert Scrood, your winner and new CBW champion, Robert Scrood. Everyone,
Did it all for you. Points to the crowd, holding the title aloft. This is all for you.
And as that title is held aloft, the figure of a young Robert just pauses. We are back up in the box with the present day Robert observing the match. Looks like it went down just how you remember it, mate. But the past always does, doesn't it? The past never changes.
It's clearly my memory is excellent of that day. How else would I have envisioned it ever so clearly in my perhaps drunken stupor? Perhaps that's what it is. Perhaps that's what it is that I'm remembering. I should be focusing on the actual match that's happening right now, not messing around with silly visions that I have in my head.
Yeah, right. That's right, mate. I'm just a silly vision, just a little anomalous blip in your brain after a little bit too much excess from the wrong kind of success. Look, I'm going to make it very clear for you. Being dead is a pretty busy place. I'm kind of pulling a double shift right now, doing a gig as the ghost, a wrestling past. And I'm going to warn you, because we're old friends, that tonight you will be visited by 2 more spirits. I suggest you pay them a little bit more heed than you pay your old pal Jacob. Right, I've got another one of these in about 5 minutes, halfway across the country, so see you in a bit. Taps his nose and a puff of chimney smoke disappears completely from the box.
Bum hug.
And we are back now. As you look back down after this hallucination, I'm sure, I wouldn't worry about it, mate, disappears. You cast your eyes back down to the ring, and the figure of Grapula starts moving over the top of the figure of Invisible Man Helsing, fangs bared, leaning in closer and closer to the throat, this huge black cape opening out wide, trying to engulf this unclothed, unintelligent.
Bear clapping right now, which is when you slap your scrotum against your taint. I'm really invisible.
It was a classy time. It was a classy time of history. What are you doing as these teeth close in ever so closer to your neck?
I turn to Count Crapula and I say, I may appear like some dancing ninny, but you've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake. And I pull a wooden stake from my butt and I shove it in his chest.
Like, that's a finisher if ever I saw one. That's a straight 2d6 roll, please, Helsing.
That is an 8.
Yeah, you thrust that stake straight out towards the chest of Count Grapula. This sort of look of superiority and evil intent and a kind of sort of smug arrogance, which is covered his expression for this entire fight, suddenly disappears as that piece of wood pierces his seemingly iron-hard chest, goes through skin and bone to his old, shriveled heart and pierces that. There is a cough. His eyes go wide and even more bloodshot for a moment as he looks at you. You've undead all my work. And then poof, disappears into ashes. Your winner, the hidden hunter, Invisible Man Helsing. And the crowd go wild.
Which is pick up my clothes. I wrap myself around with bandages, which takes ages. Put my hat on and a scarf. And there I am, a complete gentleman once again. And with all the dignity I can muster, I walk solemnly out of the pit.
Terrible. -2 stars.
As the Invisible Man Helsing leaves the pit and the ashes of Count Grapula dissipate into the night air, there is a low but powerful rumble from the night sky as thick, dark storm clouds start to gather above the arena of Cruel Britannia Wrestling. And we cast our eyes up now, up above the different layers of socially separated audience, up above the arena itself into the sky, up amongst these ever darkening storm clouds. And we find ourselves now looking at the handsome face of a daredevil aeronautics expert riding a ghost grey hot air balloon up into the sky. The lifeless, lightless metal box of Chip's interdimensional device sitting in the basket as the clouds gather and the thunder rumbles and rain starts to pour.
Oh, God damn it, Danger Zone. We've had our adventure in the high school. Now we've been here for what, years? It's been years in this Victorian horror dimension. And we need some science. We need some more science again to restart Ship's device that got us here in the first place. Maybe next time is going to be the time I get back home, back to my real home, where Judy Lovely is. But until then, I guess we're just going to have to find some more science down there, down there in the pits.
The clouds gather and rumble. You see far, far off in the distance a flash of lightning. And as that lightning flashes, the briefest, tiniest, smallest little spark of light blinks into the blue core of Chip's device before disappearing as the winds start to buffet the basket back and forth and the rain starts to pound down on your face.
Danger Zone. I think something about this loud noise is giving the box life. I think it's the thunder. Just like my name, it's poetic. Let's go forward into the storm.
Okay. As you pull down on that cord, and hot flame shoots up into the balloon of this ghost grey dirigible, sending it higher and higher into the clouds. I'm going to need a look roll from you to successfully pilot this thing deeper.
A look roll from the best pilot in the galaxy / time zone. Oh, it's a 10.
Nice. Yeah, you properly pull down hard on that cord. A really powerful jet of flame just causes this brilliantly designed, almost too modern for its period, hot air balloon to go higher and higher and higher. The roar of the flame is almost a response to the call of your let's go. You pass through layers of sort of white and grey cloud and reach a point now where the clouds are sort of almost jet black and obscure all vision. And you hear a kind of chittering coming from up here. This based on the research you've done into Victorian science, this might be the highest anyone has ever gone. And there is this sort of this chittering and bubbling coming from deep within these clouds as another bolt of lightning, crack-ow, goes off a little closer this time. And as it does, the little bit of color inside Chip's device shines even brighter for a moment before disappearing.
The louder the noise, Danger Zone, the more the light flashes in the box. Follow the noise. The noise is the source of all the power we need to get back home. And also there's that weird bubbling thing as well. Let's check that out. I'm gonna swing the hot air balloon, do a really cool airplane turn with it.
Okay, give me a look on that airplane turn.
10 again.
10. Beautiful, beautiful piece of aeronautic piloting. As you swing around in the direction of the most recent boom of sound, which is definitely the problem, definitely the solution to your problem. A long, thick tendril, wet with rain, covered in suckers and peculiar shaped claws, squirms out from one of the thicker crowds and then lashes straight towards the balloon. Sort of as its suckers open up, these little blades pop out from the center, these little kind of beaks almost, lashes towards the dirigible you're inside. What are you doing?
Quick evasive action, Danger Zone. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a 360 spin with the hot air balloon.
That's a look roll.
Yep.
Wouldn't that put you exactly where you wish?
No. It's height wise.
Oh, right.
So not just turning round. I'm not an idiot. Oh, it's a 5.
You have your rerolls, or we can keep going.
Let's play this one out.
Cool. The tentacle swirls around and wraps itself around the thick cord that binds the balloon to the basket, pulling it tight and a kind of grip. The balloon still maintains its kind of upright position. You're just not fast enough to get the maneuver to go, and you feel the balloon being pulled through the sky closer and closer to these clouds. Like as you get closer to the cloud, another louder crack-oom, bolt of lightning shoots down even closer this time, and the blue beam of light inside Chip's box gets even brighter and lasts even longer before disappearing into nothing. Another tentacle and another until 8 thick, heavy, almost gelatinous things just squirm their way out of the clouds around you and start to converge onto the machine itself. The clouds part again, and a huge beaked maw lined with what must be hundreds of teeth dripping some kind of viscous gelatinous goop snarl at you in a hiss that matches the sound of the rainfall itself. What are you doing?
I start judo chopping all of the tentacles that have attached itself to the hot air balloon.
Okay, so a straightforward judo chop feels like that's just force. That's a power move.
Not work? Okay, for the power...
if you want to try and black work, if you want to try and talk me into work, my ears are open.
Well, because one of the many things that Rick learned how to do at school in the pilot school was a extracurricular class on judo, and he learned all the judo there.
So I'm going to help you out here because I'm in a nice mood. Are you saying like the precision of a judo chop to a pressure point is like a work roll, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just not a chop. It's a judo chop. It's targeted.
You just look so dapper, man. I can't say no to you. Go for it.
With work, it's 8.
Ooh, lucky. Yes. Like, yeah. But mine was through those chops. Is with each judo chop, another tentacle gets bashed. There's a screech from the creature as it whips away from the part of the balloon it was holding. Another one goes, until now you're just staring straight into the mouth of this maw. The tentacles have released your balloon. It is now free floating, but there is almost like a gravitational pull sucking you closer to this jaw. Another bolt of lightning comes even closer now, crack-ow, right, probably a meter away from the side of this hot air balloon. Another one, crack-oom, the lightning almost seems to be centered and based around this thing in the clouds now. And with every closer bolt and every brighter bolt, that light in Chip's device lasts longer and shines brighter, almost blinding you with its blue beam.
The thunder is getting more intense the closer I'm getting to the monster. The monster, you said, is pulling me in with some kind of gravitational strength anyway. And I've got something to outrun in this dimension. I don't know how much longer I can take it here. So I'm going full throttle into the mouth of the beast.
That is a look roll, Richard.
It's a 9.
You pull down on this cord once again. The flames roar in response to your inspirational self-speech, and the hot air balloon just whooshes towards this giant toothy maw at breakneck speed. You going for a judo chop?
as it's going into the beak, I'm going to judo chop.
Okay, so this big thick tongue comes out and tries to like wrap itself around you to pull you out of the machine. Give me a work roll for your judo chop. You didn't need to do that, but go for it.
A 10.
Yes, you judo chop that tongue. Wapow! And it disappears back inside the mouth. And then, just as you are surrounded on all sides by this eldritch mass of evil, inconceivable, extrastellar flesh, the loudest boom of thunder you've heard so far coincides exactly with a massive bolt of lightning shoots straight through the jaw of this creature. It explodes in a shower of inconceivable goop, and the bolt of lightning goes straight down directly into Chip's device. The blue light, boom, bursts into light. There is a crackle and a hum, and the clouds part as a portal opens in the sky. A portal looking out onto a familiar garden where a beautiful young woman is hanging out her washing. She doesn't see you. And as the clouds part and the figure of Julie Lovely back in your own dimension solidifies, do you see someone approaching the house, the front gate? And then the clouds part even more and moonlight beams down on you, and then all you can see as you're illuminated by this celestial glow is a red haze of rage, and you black out. And we find ourselves back once again in the pit, the arena of cruel Britannia wrestling. Making their way to the ring, hailing from the Tower of London, the avian assassin, the Raven.
There is a gentle rapping on the door to the pit. Subtle tapping that gets louder. And it keeps going until it becomes thuds. Thud after thud after thud. And the door flies off its hinges as hundreds of ravens swarm through the arena. They fly around the ring. They obscure completely the center of the ring. And as they part, standing in the center of the ring in dapper Victorian gear, feathered sort of scarf wrapped around his neck, a mask that seems to be made of some sort of skull that has been modified to look like a bird, is the Raven.
There is a hushed, almost fearful silence from the audience as they watch this sinister figure, clearly a being of great intelligence and design. Making their way to the ring, hailing from Baker Street, London, Detective Cyril Bellum. No fanfare, no fanciness, just a very well-dressed man in a deerstalker cap, smoking a pipe, wearing a thick greatcoat, paces his way down the ramp into the center of the ring, looks across where the Raven is, his face almost expressionless, his eyes narrowed slightly, the pupils and irises just darting left and right in almost imperceptible movements as a great brain processes what he's looking at. Very well then. Ding, 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 ding.
I pull a knife and I go to stab him.
Okay, well, that's a real roll.
Fuck.
This is the kind of shit.
That's 11.
Oh, shit.
What part of the body are you trying to stab, mate?
I'm going straight for the gut.
Straight for the gut.
I want this to be horrible.
Okay.
I'm so proud.
What does your knife look like?
It's kind of, the handle is gilded in gold, and the sort of pommel where it connects to the blade is the claw of a bird, and it reaches out into this sort of hooked talon almost, so it slides in sideways almost, and then I twist, pull it back out.
He looks down at the nasty, neat, clean wound in his gut, puts a hand over the hole you just made, his blood seeps out between his fingers, puts another hand, applies pressure. That composure's instantly gone from his face as he looks up into the eyes of a monster. This isn't the first time I've been stabbed by some ruffian in a back alley. Well, and he goes for one of his signature moves, a study in scarlet, as he rubs as much blood as he can in his hands and then smears it across your mask and face in an attempt to blind you. What are you doing?
I think I'm going to attempt to drop down out of the way of that and then go for a move I'm calling 2 stones, 1 bird. And I'm going to pop back up holding 2 stones in either hand and bell clap them around his head.
Okay. So let's get a work roll to avoid that blinding first.
5.
5. Unfortunately, no. Like the blood smears itself across your eyes. Your vision is obscured. Your beautiful white mask is sullied. I'll still let you make the roll to try. Actually, no, that was a failed roll. Seeing he has an opening, Holmes. Man, I keep infringing on what is essentially public domain characters, but still, Detective Bellum, sees that you're slightly dazed, sees that you can't quite see what's happening, putting both hands over his stomach, holding in the wound as much as he can. He squats down and goes for a standing super kick. The game's afoot, he says, and then kicks you square in the face and knocks you back onto your back. Sort of a hairline crack now appears in your beautiful mask.
Thought you could catch me, Bellum, but I'm the one who's caught you. And as he comes closer, I'm going to try and rip my hands into the wound I've already made.
That's a real roll.
That is a 7.
That'll do it. It's taken most of his strength to muster up that last ditch kick, and he just doesn't have the strength in his muscles left to stop your hand from going deeper into his stomach. Do you want to tell us how you open that wound?
I'll just claw my hands up and they go in sideways because I've sort of jabbed him in the side. I just clutch at the side of his body and I just pull as hard as I can across the front of him.
Look how happy Lolo is.
I'm so happy right now.
He wheezes. He tries to get some kind of pithy remark out, but he can't. And as the wound opens, he drops to his knees, one hand still vainly trying to hold onto the wound, the other bloodstained, making a red handprint on the sand of the arena. He looks up at you. It's not over yet, monster. Releasing his hand from his stomach, bits of viscera falling out of the wound as he does this. He leaps up to his full height and puts his hands around the top of your head and then starts trying to pull you down onto the ground. I'm going to need a power roll from you.
That is a 3.
The problem with you flashy types, you never look out for concrete evidence, and then cracks your mask against the ground. That hairline fracture opens up, damaging it even more. But the wound you've dealt to him was so brutal. That's pretty much the last of his energy. And like as you're lying prone, he's now just on his knees, wheezing, more bits of gut just dangling out of the hole. There's almost no energy left in this man by this point.
Number 11. You put up a fight, but it's over now. And I go for a move I'm calling Suddenly There Came a Tapping, and it's a crossface raven wing. I spin on the spot, go, caw, and then I lock in one of his arms behind his back and basically strangle him.
That's a straight 2d6 roll.
That is a 9.
Okay. Yeah, you lock in exactly as you describe. He wheezes and coughs, his eyes bulge, his tongue kind of lolls out. People sort of roll into the back of his head, and after a prolonged period of this man just trying to hang on to the last minute, he passes out and dies. As soon as he does, a sharp pain shoots through your brain. Like you blink and you find yourself no longer sitting in the arena of Cruel Britannia Wrestling, choking out a detective. You're now on your knees in a different kind of muddy pit. Nothing is on your body except a heavy loincloth around your groin. Your muscles are broad and thick and heavy. Your body is covered in hair. Like your brow is low and sloping. And another thick-set, primitive man is in your grip, eyes rolling into the back of his head, the life leaving his body, as a prehistoric sun sets on this act of ancient murder. And then vision fades, and you are back in the CBW arena. Your winner, the avian assassin, the Raven.
Whoa.
Hug.
Before I leave, I take my knife and I carve the sign of Aquarius just onto the knee, onto the thigh flesh of Bellum.
And as you leave and go up the ramp into the backstage area, a flight of black birds fly in from outside the arena and settle down next to the corpse, start picking at it with their beaks as one of the stagehands has to shoo them away and remove the latest body in what is a sea of bodies in CBW. Back up in his private box, this whole match has been watched by a very disapproving Robert Scrood.
Relying on blood and guts, that's not good shit. Using weapons to avoid actual work. Cyril Bellum tried to do a bit of wrestling moves, but unfortunately we had more blood and guts and a sleeper for the win, -3 stars, I'm afraid. More terrible, terrible wrestling.
Well, a thick Scots voice says from to your right, if you didn't like the blood and guts in this one, you're not going to think very much of the next match. Making her way to the ring, hailing from Chiswick, London, the sociopathic socialite, Demonique de Composé.
So I'm just talking to a group of very, very busy women having tea. I'm just like, excuse me. I get up from the table and I make my way to the ring. And as I'm going, I'm picking up the crochet that I was doing earlier, finishing it off, putting it down as I'm going through. I'm shining the silverware, talking to various servants that I do have, making sure that everything's ready for this evening or whatever I've got going on. Tasting the dessert, of course, and moving my way just delicately and lovely into the ring and to stand there as graceful as ever.
Making her way to the ring, hailing from the British Museum, but let's face it, we stole it. We full-on stole it. The fairest of them all, Sarcophagus. About 3 heavy-set people in white coats, wearing sort of white gloves, masks, and old-timey goggles, start wheeling down a huge, ornate sarcophagus on a dolly down the ramp and into the stage. It's lashed on all sides with thick, heavy rope. There is a museum worker holding onto each one. As it gets to the center of the ring, they pause, look at each other, silently count 1, 2, 3, then pull the ropes and just run full tilt back up the ramp as fast as they can. Like as these cords drop to the ground, there is a stone groan as the door of this sarcophagus opens, and the stench of thousands of years wafts out of this coffin and into your nostrils. There's nothing but a black cavernous cavity inside it for a moment, and then you hear a sort of slap, and out lumbers a tall, lean, loping, mal-shaped figure covered head to toe in bandages. All you can see beyond the bandages themselves are 2 pitch black eyes, and where the bandages are separated around the mouth, a long, purple, bifurcated tongue, and about 3 teeth. You just hear as a powerful stench and a few bugs just fly out of the center of the mouth. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, Well, hello. I don't believe we've met before. Is it Jess? Jess. Oh, it's so lovely to have you here. Welcome. And I'm just going to try and welcome them as if it was my wonderful ring and my wonderful home, to make them feel as comfortable as possible. And I'm just going to bring out a little perfume bottle and just some lavender oil just around. I like to welcome everyone, but you've brought something with you.
Okay, so I'm not going to ask you to roll to spray a little perfume bottle. That seems a pretty straightforward thing to do. However, in response to these beautiful fragrant scents you are disseminating, Sarcophagus's jaw just dislocates to a point it's now hanging about 5 inches below her cheeks.
Marvellous!
And a swarm of locusts just pour out of her mouth and start surrounding you and stinging you. I'm going to need a power roll to withstand this Egyptian plague.
That is -1, 8.
8. That is enough. You are hardy enough to take it.
Just
after sort of
marvelous.
swarming around you for about maybe 10, 20 seconds, they dissipate and then just fly off into the sky.
Oh, what a marvellous parlour trick. That's absolutely phenomenal. Would you like to see mine? You're so funny. All right. Just bear with me 1 second. Oh, sorry.
Make a look roll, please, Lo. Holy hell. A stream of green acidic vomit just pours out of your mouth in a torrent, like melting back the bandages, melting back the rotten flesh of Sarcophagus, causing this sort of tall figure to slap a awkward foot back 1, 2, 3 paces until they're basically in front of their sarcophagus again right now. Most of the bandage has left their body. A hand just full on falls off as the only thing keeping it on, a little bit of tendon and bone, just sizzles through this acidic spew you've chucked in its direction. The remaining hand of Sarcophagus goes to touch an ankh hung over her clavicle. She goes to one of her signature moves, the crypto current, and as she squeezes it, a crackle of electricity disseminates from the ankh itself and shoots towards you.
Well, obviously I'm super fast, so I'm going to move out of the way and I want to kind of dodge. Just going to run really fast like an absolute lunatic I am.
That's a work roll.
Yay. Oh, my dice are so gross.
Have they got sick on them?
They've got a lot of sick on them. So that, you say that was a look? No.
Work roll to dodge.
Work roll. -7.
Just about, yeah. As these sort of bolts of arcane energy crackle in front of you, you dodge out of the way. And where are you dodging to?
I'm dodging all the way to the ropes because I want to bounce off of them to do my next move.
Okay, what's your next move?
I want to run really fast, break off their ribs, and then stab them with it.
That's a real roll.
That's -1, 7.
Like greased lightning, you slip around, grab these ribs, tear them easily out of this decomposing body. And where are you plunging them into?
One. I'm gonna go. So I'm at their side. 1 in the back, 1 in the front, and then just want to grind them up and down.
Okay. Yeah, you successfully grind them up and down with those 2 ribs, forcing the body of Sarcophagus, or what is left of Sarcophagus's body, as like more bits of torso slough off with every grind and turn, back further into the open sarcophagus, making one last ditch effort with whatever bandage that she has remaining on her body. Sarcophagus goes for a finishing move, the wrap god, and tendrils of bandages swarm out from her hands and start to wrap around you to try to mummify you where you stand.
Sorry about that. Cool. So I'm just going to run really fast again away from them.
Okay. Effective, but not flashy. Yeah, make a work roll. Make a work roll to try and avoid those bandages.
Works at 0. 8.
8. Yeah, that'll do it. There's just not enough bandage left, considering how much you burnt away with your acidic vomit, and they sort of futilely flutter up onto the ground.
I'm gonna fall on Emily Rose, climb up the wall like some sexy gecko, and just go all the way up, get to the side, rotate the head whole 360 just for good measure, and then launch myself down and just rip off their head.
So straight 2d6.
Okay. Oh, 7.
Tell us how you tear that head off.
Okay. When it's so tasty. We'll take their head off. So from the like wonderful corner of the room, turn head round, and then launch myself down, feet on either shoulder, and like full on like squatting over them, and like that kind of really animalistic like, and then just digging my whole hand into their skull, and then just ripping it off, and then throwing it into the audience.
Beautiful work.
Thank you.
A regular from the middle class tier catches it, and he's going to hang on to that for a long time. Your winner, the sociopathic socialite, Demonique Décomposée. And now, as you wave a polite thanks to your audience, we rejoin Screwed back in his upper box. As well, quite a match here, quite an entertaining match. And as you turn to your left, you see a familiar figure once again, the broad-muscled body of Pinheart Stone Gold, sitting next to you, reclining on a seat, big heavy feet resting on the edge of the balcony. What a match!
What on earth are you doing here?
Working, mate. What are you doing here?
I'm doing what I'm always doing, telling these people what real wrestling is all about. Not this silly blood and guts nonsense, despite the chance of sexy gecko down there from that group of people. It's just all... There's no psychology. Where's the psychology in all of this wrestling? Just psychotic is what it is.
Tell me, Robert, what is real wrestling?
Real wrestling is what you and I did. We would go out there and show these fine people, and even those poor ones down there, what real wrestling is all about. The technique, the sport, the theatrics of it all. Not this spooky Halloween hullabaloo.
The word you need to focus on there, mate, is did. Aye, that's the wrestling we did, but people don't do that anymore.
That's a damn shame.
I need to make this quick, because I'll be honest with you. The Ghost of Wrestling Present gig doesn't pay that well, but you need to think...
You're not a ghost.
Well, if I wasn't, could I do this? And she spins her head 360 degrees around and then winks at you.
Something not quite right. It's definitely these peanuts. Definitely these peanuts. Perhaps some of the cheese, the beef that I had earlier. There's nothing quite right about all of this.
Oh, my friend, you really need to stop blaming cheese for all your problems. Look, it seems to me like you need to have a long, hard think about this. Look at the fans, and you see people cheering and cheering. You see the guy who caught the severed head of Sarcophagus showing it off. Look, they love this stuff. They're having a great time. They're invested in these things. I think the only one up here who doesn't really understand what good wrestling is. Well, I'm sure you can fill in the blanks. Woo! She says, and then disappears in a puff of tartan and a honk of bagpipe.
Sick of it's me? Not knowing what she is. Who do any of these people think that they are? Fools. I shall write up today's onlooker. Tell these people what the actual wrestling is. Real wrestling actually is. Ghosts.
We now go back down into the pit,
Humbug.
back up the ramp. Bum hug. Back up the ramp.
Bum hug.
Bum hug. Let's get on the
Not
t-shirt.
okay.
Back up the ramp, backstage to a another balcony of sorts that overlooks the city of London. And sitting behind a stone desk, penning something, we see the feathered figure of the Raven.
The Raven's just hunched over, quill in hand, freshly plucked from the back of a fellow Raven, and writes, "From the chamber. Dear boss, I send an eye I tore from Taurus. My knife had left his body porous, pricked and pouring vital blood all across my chamber floor. He joined the likes of Gemini, the first of them to ever die. 11 families I've left to cry and cry forevermore. For earlier I spilled Aquarius, and now I hunt a Sagittarius. Tracked and traced down to this place where I'll stuff them like a boar. And while they lie there all a-squealing, a sound I find really quite appealing. For its life force I have been stealing, healing my tattered and broken core. Once I complete this, my zodiac, there shall be no going back to the quiet and cobbled streets I used to walk before. Merrily, I quoth the Raven, for my soul he is a saving. Guide me further unto haven, saving me forevermore." And he signs it, a ghost grim and ancient Raven, aka Saucy Nev.
And as you sign the bottom of that letter, the birds fluttering around you start to caw and flap their wings. And as you look up into the night sky, it seems the constellation Sagittarius shines a little brighter than usual. And the birds take wing, flutter up high into the sky, swoop down back into the corridor, and you see them settle gently at the doorstep of a dressing room. Written in chalk on the door, hastily and scruffily, "The hidden hunter, invisible man, Helsing." One last room, one last part of backstage here at CBW. A sweating, exhausted Richard Thunder wakes up in a cage, his clothes torn to almost nothing, his body covered in scratches and lacerations, heavy iron bars in front of him, a bed of straw on a wooden frame below him, a well-dressed, dapper man, covered in feathers and scales and hides of all kinds, walks up into the light and looks you straight in the eye. "Well, it seems someone is awake. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Yiff, and this is my marvelous, monstrous menagerie." And he gestures a flamboyant hand out as you see 3 or 4 other cages on wheels, each with some kind of anthropomorphic, shambling beast of some kind inside. There are names written over the top of them: the Apes of Wrath, Handsome Crab, Snapmare. "Ooh, you'll make a fine addition to my collection," as he looks up at where the sign above your cage must be. "And it looks like you're right on time." And as he says that, he looks up into the sky, and the clouds part once again and show a bright, full moon. And as its beams streak through the sky, through the bars on your cage, into your enclosure, you feel a change coming.
Danger Bone!
Oh, wait, Danger Boner?
And that's all for this time on CBW. We will see you next time.
That's all for part 1 of No Rolls Barred this month. Check back same time next week, and if you would like to get an episode 48 hours early, become one of our patrons, like these legends scrolling past me along the bottom of the screen. Go to patreon.com/no-rolls-barred and you'll find a whole bevy of perks to enjoy. We'll see you this time next week. Jam that jam.